How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you guys are new here, haven't seen my videos before, do me a huge favor and leave a like, subscribe while you're there as well. Today I want to tell a story about the time that I wrecked my car. Now, don't worry, I did not wreck the Mustang or any of the cars that you know. This is a story in the past about a car that I used to own. So at this time I was 17. This was the car that I bought before my Mustang, and a car I had bought even before COVID and the channel and everything. I bought it as a winter beater. It was a higher mileage 2001 Audi TT. The car was in rougher shape. I intended to fix it up and kind of put a little bit of money into it and make it nice. Unfortunately, it didn't really pan out as I thought it would. The car started having a little too many issues, and also I put it into a massive snowbank. One day we had a ton of ice come down. It was super cold and it was snowing and overall just miserable conditions, and conditions you shouldn't be driving in. I had a basketball game that day, and that night I had come home from school. The conditions had gotten worse. The ice started to form, a little bit of black ice started to form. All the rain and snow that had melted had now become ice because the sun no longer was beaming down on it. So the roads were slick, to say the very least, and I had to go to a basketball game, like I said. And I had an Audi that had Quattro, but also at the same time, I don't remember how good the tires were or anything like that. I was driving and I had hit a point where I was going about the speed limit. I downshifted and I accelerated a little bit just to hear a little bit of the exhaust and a little bit of turbo. I wasn't going fast. I was going maybe 30, 35 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone. Any cops are watching this, I was going 30 miles per hour in the 30 mile per hour zone. But the issue was when I started to slow down, my car started skidding. When I started skidding, I knew that I most likely would not be able to stop in time to make a turn. So it is a very weird kind of downhill turn. So it's probably 50 feet long, and it goes uphill here, and it kind of comes down on a little bit of a curve, kind of like this. There's a stop sign right at the bottom. It's a very short hill, but it's a downhill short corner. It's super weird. So straight in front of you is a curb with snow that's been piled up from the snow plows, and I had one of two options because I would not be able to slow down by the time I had gotten to the bottom of the hill. I probably would have been able to maneuver myself to turn and push myself onto a super busy road. But I was downshifting, I was doing everything, and I had no control at one point, and I decided to let the car ride. And that was probably one of the scariest things that I've ever done while driving, was have no control of what's going on. I thought I was going to hit the snowbank, and I thought that I was going to have my airbag go off, I was going to hit it, and I was going to have the whole front of my car just kind of like stuck in there. What ended up happening, very luckily, is I guess it caught a little bit of air, and when it caught a little bit of air, it ended up sliding on top of the snowbank. I have a video of it, a very brief video of it. But the car just kind of ended up wedging itself up onto the snowbank. I got very lucky that I didn't go head first into the snowbank, because I could have been hurt pretty badly. So all of that being said, I clearly did not make my basketball game. So this happened probably maybe a mile, maybe 2 miles away from my house, like 3 minutes down the road probably. And I didn't know what to do, because I was kind of sitting there. I was like, I really need to get to my basketball game, but now I'm stuck in a snowbank. So I kind of just took a second and like thought, how can I get myself out of this situation? Then I see a plow truck, and the same exact thing happened to this plow truck, except he was going a little bit slower than I was, and he also has a lot more weight, so he kind of, I guess, was able to stop himself. But I was standing near the road. I wasn't standing on the road, but I was standing near the road, and my car is wedged up pretty good up there. So he had his truck probably a little bit to the left of mine, straight up rammed into the curb, and I was standing there, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I started screaming like, I'm gonna die. I don't know, I don't remember what I said at all. I probably just started screaming and yelling like, oh shit, and, you know, something like that. But I had to sprint out of the way and jump out of the way of this plow truck. And I'm not talking about one of the huge plow trucks, I'm talking about someone's personal pickup truck that had a plow on it. Regardless, I would not be here today if I did not move out of the way. So after all of that happening, I was like, alright, we need to get, you know, my dad came over, brought the F-150, he pulled me out with his truck, and he pulled me out of the snowbank. We had a couple of people, one of our neighbors actually ended up helping, and we got the car out. The car ran, the car drove, and it wasn't misaligned. I don't know how all of those things came together, and the car actually fully worked, but nothing seemed to have gone wrong. So the next day, actually, I got pulled over for not having a front license plate, and I brought my license plate for my Audi before. I've told this story when I told the story about getting my first ticket, but the front plate had been pulled off when we were pulling the car out. I had lost the front plate in the snow pile. The snow melted a little bit. I ended up finding the front plate, and I actually still have the grill that came out. So there was a little bit of damage to the front end. The front bumper of the car got damaged a little bit. It cracked a little bit more. It was already cracked, but it was started to missing a piece. It started hanging in some area, and the grill of the car got pulled out. This is said grill that got pulled out when we pulled the car out. I don't know how this ended up in my possession, but this ended up in my possession after I sold the car. The driveline started vibrating very violently, which was the reason I kind of decided to get it checked out, and then inevitably decided to kick the car. I think the accident had to deal with the car having the driveline issues, because when it get rammed up, it probably knocked something loose and the driveline had to be rebuilt. So, or I guess I should say the drive shaft. I forget what it was. I think it was the bearings were bad in it or something. This was a long time ago. This was like 3 years ago. But after having to deal with all of that, and then the turbo started to go bad a couple weeks later, so I decided to sell the car before COVID. And it was just a time where I decided to kick it. But one of the best manual transmissions I've ever driven. One of the most fun cars I've ever had. I definitely want to buy another Audi TT someday, and hopefully this time it'll be a better example. I have seen my car come up for sale 2 times now. The first time I saw it was from the person I sold it to, and then the second time I guess it had changed hands a couple of times after, but the car is a total mess right now. So if it was still in the condition that I had sold it in, I would buy the car back for the reasonable price that I sold it for. But it did need thousands of dollars of work. I'd probably do a new motor in it and a bunch of stuff, but just a lot of sentimental value in that car. Now it's a little too far gone to buy back, unfortunately, but Audi TT Gen 1s, Quattros, lower mileage are still not too expensive and still not super out of reach. Overall, super fun car, sounded awesome, sounded great, and that was a story of how I nearly totaled my car and got super lucky. If you guys did enjoy this video, do me a huge favor and subscribe. Today it snowed like crazy, so I thought this video would be appropriate for a little bit of a story time. All I got for this one though, leave me a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.